Elden Ring is the first taste of FromSoftware for many people, and after 100 hours it is easy to feel unstoppable AF, boy. You've beaten demigods, you've tamed Torrent, and you've collected enough golden seeds to start a botanical garden. So it's time to do what any gamer god would do. Buy Dark Souls 3. What I failed to realize was exactly why Elden Ring sold over 30 million copies. While it is still challenging, there's enough sites of grace, telegraphed attacks, and alternate paths to alleviate a lot of that FromSoftware pain. It's a slightly watered down version of the hell that the Dark Souls trilogy is, except for 2. People don't really like 2. Which allowed gamers much like myself to be introduced to the genre for the first time, while also being lied to and led on, might I add. Well, you're so good at games, you would definitely make a great Dark Souls player, wow. But I did the thing. I bought Dark Souls 3. On my birthday, might I add. Honestly, kind of masochistic. I do like the magic in these games, so that's what I went with first. But after absolutely dog walking the first boss with ranged attacks, I decided it should probably be easier to get that full and true experience. I'm not a little punk. I'm gonna hack and slash and show this game who's big chihuahua on the dog park. In a sick twist of fate, the very beginning of Dark Souls 3 adds to the illusion that you're some sort of Souls god. You can pretty much do whatever you want to these undead. So even after changing starting builds, not much actually changed for me. Yeah. However, if you do detour and explore, you're smacked with your first taste of reality when you find this crystal dog lizard thing. And suddenly, the dodging just does not feel like enough anymore. But aside from the crystal dog lizard thing, the starting zone really wasn't that bad. Elden Ring does prepare you enough to handle that with no issue. Don't get it twisted, son. There are plenty of moments in this game that cause my Elden Ring ego to go flying off of a cliff. But specifically... Sorry, not feeling great. I just love games so much I want to talk to you guys about them. But specifically, there are 2 zones and 2 boss fights that really caused me to question my sanity. For on Keep, Aerithol, the Abyss Watchers, and Pontiff Sullivan. For on Keep. Genuinely, F this place. This was the first big speed bump. As if searching for 3 small fires to light wasn't difficult enough, having to do it in a swamp full of things that want you to cease to exist is just painstaking. And if there's one thing Elden Ring failed to prepare me for, it's the level of aggression that 74.2% of these enemies have. In Elden Ring, most of the time the enemies give you more than enough time to get a strike in without them trying to hit you at the same time. Not these freaks, or these freaks, or the... Well, they honestly weren't that bad, but F them too, you know? Not only do a lot of them attack very quickly, but they can see you from so far away. So you're forced to choose between methodically fighting on tiny pieces of land or rolling like a hippie at a music festival until you can escape or find a big piece of land to fight on. On the more rare occasion that you ran into an overwhelming basic enemy in Elden Ring, you could just go somewhere else and search for better gear if you're stuck at a mandatory spot. And if it's optional, Torrent is one call away to take you to the land of Rot, where you can go bird watching, play fetch with some freaky dogosaur things, or be this thing's snack. My brother in Christ, the only snacking in Dark Souls is when you stress eat, because gosh darn it, I'm tired of this game. The thing is, this isn't bad level design. In fact, toxic swamps are a Souls staple. But Elden Ring taught me that sticky situations, unintended, can easily be escaped. In Dark Souls, there is no escaping. At least not in this situation. You're taught to marry the pain and stay together for these freaky little frog kids. But when you finally light all 3 of the fires in Faron Keep, a sense of relief washes over you, until you realize you're getting ready to go into another boss fight. So this fight starts off like any other. Just you, a boss, and a wall of fog that you need to get through. You're putting belt to buttocks, and you get sucker punched by a second Abyss Watcher. Okay, no problem. So when we're not totally new to duo boss fights, it's cool. Wait, a third one? I was caught so far off guard when that third Abyss Watcher came out and annihilated the ones I was already fighting. Didn't really matter either way though, because this was the easy part of the fight. The second Abyss Watcher really wasn't that difficult to get rid of, and honestly the main Abyss Watcher wasn't really that tough either. Until Phase 2. Phase 2 of this fight can be a real wake-up call and a shot to your ego. It's just one Abyss Watcher now, but his swords are on fire. And he now has a ranged attack that is, if you're new to Souls games, it's kind of hard to dodge. And he is a little more aggressive, which leaves you with a smaller window to attack than the windows you would see in a basement. Death after miserable run back to be greeted with death. Like in Elden Ring, you're forced to adapt to be able to win this fight. But unlike Elden Ring, your options are a little more slim. Sure, you can replay some zones to farm souls, and you can even look for helpful items that you think you might have missed. But outside of upgrading your weapon, your best chance of getting past this bozo is persistence and training yourself to recognize his attack patterns. No running away, no moving on to a different zone, and really, you don't have many options to cheese either. So get to studying, bub. This is worth 30% of your final grade. Getting to Aerithol is great. I hope I'm saying that right, by the way. But it's great. Especially after searching for a doll you had no idea even existed, just to get in. This zone definitely had enemies that made me want to punch a hole through my monitor. The Pontiff Knights, the Fire Witches, the Aeritholian slaves, they all suck, and not equally. Looking at you, Fire Witches, I really hate you. And yeah, they're all very annoying. But that's not what bugs me about this zone. Before playing Dark Souls 3, I never thought it would be possible to get lost in a linear corridor style game. But
oh my god.
This place is designed so well that I thought I was going the right way multiple times, just to find out that I hit a dead end or I'm led to an optional area in the zone. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against exploration, but sometimes you just want to beeline the main objective. You know, it was a long day at work. Maybe you are supposed to end up in the dungeon at some point, but I was in that sumbitch for like 2 days trying to figure out where to go. The only option is to retrace the entire zone until you finally find the correct path to the next boss fight. This is nothing I haven't said like a handful of times at this point. In Elden Ring, when you run into a situation like this, you can just leave and come back later. Even better, you have a map and a compass. They're not super detailed, but at least you have the ability to set waypoints and something to aid your general sense of direction. In Dark Souls 3, some of these zones are easy peasy to get lost in. Varan keeps Swamp included. And unless you look for a walkthrough online, you're alone. You've got to keep circling around like Hammy on his little wheel until you find that one door, path, or objective to progress. So, remember how I mentioned in Aerithol, you get lost? Well, I got lost, and you kind of just have to keep searching until you find the correct path to the next boss. Well, yeah. He starts the fight aura farming. He's very mandatory, and he lets you know that immediately. In Elden Ring, I struggled like crazy with Margit, which I'm sure is the case for many of the 30+ million people that bought the game. But that's the very first boss of the game. In a game like Elden Ring, you expect something like that to blow hard, especially for a player that's new to FromSoftware games. To FromSoftware. But breaking news, Pontiff Sullivan is not the first boss of this game. And I'd like to at least think that I'm not total donkey dung at the game, but this MF strikes so MFing hard, fast, and often. But say you do get a good run going, and you're giving it to the chump. You're giving it to him good. You're taking out all that frustration he's caused you for the last hour plus, and you get him down to about half HP, and Mr. I'm so cool and zany with 2 powerful swords summons a spirit clone to help him. Right, yeah, cool, yay. Isn't that great? Don't you just love that for yourself? One of them wasn't enough. We did, in fact, need a second one. Yeah, there's no sugarcoating it. This fight sucked for me. Very bad. It took me at least 23 attempts before I finally beat him. It felt like every 4 to 5 attempts, I'd get the bastard down to less than a third of his HP. Then he would just go goblin mode and put an end to my foolish ambition. Wait, wrong game. But much like the second phase of the Abyss Watchers, you have to be persistent, patient, and force him into a lunge so you can get him in the back. So I just want to be clear, I am not taking a dump on Elden Ring. I love the game and I have well over 100 hours in it. And I just started playing it 3 months ago. It's just that maybe Elden Ring isn't the best option to play first if you want a realistic expectation for the rest of the FromSoftware games. Especially Sekiro, oh my god. I'm also not saying that Dark Souls 3 is definitively the best game in its genre, although it kind of is for me. My biggest takeaway from playing Dark Souls 3 after Elden Ring is that they are two very different experiences.
Oh wow, what groundbreaking research.
Okay, brother, let me finish first. Elden Ring is a big open world journey that allows you to find different ways to progress through the game. And you have your trusty steed Torrent and the ability to fast travel to any site of grace from almost anywhere on the map at any time. Like I mentioned earlier, in Dark Souls, unless you look up a walkthrough, you are completely on your own. You're on your own to figure out the bosses and beat them the old-fashioned way, and you are for damn sure on your own traversing the environment. But I kind of prefer it. Elden Ring gave us the open world and freedom. Freedom to progress at our own pace. Freedom to carve out a unique path to an extent. But there's a simplicity to Dark Souls 3 that allows you to just lock in and focus on becoming more skilled. If most of the victories in Elden Ring feel like winning a marathon, then most of the victories in Dark Souls 3 feel like winning an Ironman race. And in my opinion, that feels so much more rewarding and worth my time. Okay, good talk. Sleep tight. Don't let the mimics bite.